GPU prices are absolutely in chaos right now. What's going to happen to the GPU market? Is it going to explode? Welcome back to PC Builder. I'm Jason. We're going to answer these questions and more. Stay with us. GPU and PC parts prices are totally in flux right now. We've got crazy 25% aluminum tariffs that are hitting all the PC parts, and at the same time, we're braced for even more tariffs coming down the pike. If you get value out of this video, give it a like, and of course, subscribe for more cool PC content. Let's jump into it. This video is sponsored by Triple10. I remember spending hours building PCs, diving into tech forums, wishing my passion could become my career. If you've ever felt stuck or worried about job security, I've been there, and it's always the right time to change something. That's why Triple10 stood out. They're an online, beginner-friendly boot camp made for tech enthusiasts like us. Triple10 gets you practical experience with real companies. Their grads have an 82% employment rate within 6 months, and they guarantee 100% money back if you're not hired in 10 months. Turn your passion into a secure career today. Use my code PCBuilder for 30% off on all programs and save up to $3,400 on your education. Click the link below or scan the QR code for your free consultation today. Now, this is not the video I was expecting to make when I was doing this earlier this week. I was compiling the GPU prices as our regular GPU market update. I was ready to tell you, look at this. So exciting. Looks like GPUs are coming back into stock, and we see early signs of recovery in the GPU market, that this is not going to be that long. It's maybe even going to be a month or two until we get GPUs back at a somewhat reasonable price. And then, of course, prices would decline from there, just like we saw in 2022. So let's quickly go through this. And again, I don't like making this kind of video because I am going to give you some bad news in just a moment. But let's go through the good news that I was about to share with you, which is that at Newegg right now, and you've been able to do this for about a week, they have had actually decent combos. Now, I know some people don't like the combo deals because they're like, why do I have to buy this other thing? I just want the GPU. The reason for that is scalpers, of course. If they added a motherboard or something like that in, it just wrecks the scalpers' profit. And so scalpers avoid that. So again, in a perfect market, you wouldn't have to do that. But in a market infested by scalpers, which is what the GPU market's been, this is actually a pretty good tactic, especially when some of the stuff that they offer is good. I think this is a pretty good deal given where the market was, right? Which is you could actually get a B850 motherboard, a Ryzen motherboard, 2 thumbs up, none of that garbage Intel crap of the LGA 1851 right now, because nobody wants to buy Intel Core Ultra. So at least you get a motherboard that you can use with a build, and you get $729. Obviously, it's $130 more than the MSRP. Now, this card right here is an overclocked model. It's also one of the ones that typically people would be a little bit more excited about because it's very compact. It's great for ITX builds, by the way. Super compact model for the 9070 XT. And typically for the kind of higher end models, we see anywhere up to a 20% markup over the MSRP for the higher end models, and this is one of them. So normally we'd say $720 is about the limit, so it's maybe about $10 overpriced from kind of maximum, Obviously, we do expect MSRP models to also exist. Those don't exist right now. But again, this was going to be the early stages of the GPU recovery. If we, of course, look at the 9070, same thing, very similar here with the Gigabyte Gaming OC model for $669. Again, it's a little bit more expensive than the last one because the markup's a little higher, but again, a B850 motherboard. And I was just gonna say, even NVIDIA GPUs, where NVIDIA has been the main culprit behind the GPU shortage because they just haven't supplied any GPUs, you can now get in here and you can actually add this to your cart. You can buy a RTX 5070 Ti, albeit for a massively inflated $979, which you wouldn't want to do necessarily, but that's a sign that it's in stock. It's not absolutely sold out right now. That's a sign that the GPU market is essentially healing. And if you look at these, any of these with the C details on them are available to purchase right now. There's even one here for $919. So even the prices have come down a little bit because these had been over $1,000. So the pricing at least seems better, and availability, you can get one now if you absolutely want one instead of buying from a scalper. Same goes for the RTX 5070 Ti over at Newegg. There's a lot of different bundles for the 5070 Ti, and we can keep going through this. Even the RTX 5070, it had been MSRP. However, in the last couple of days, because of what's gone on, which we'll talk about in just a second, some of these prices had now been marked up. This had been $549 yesterday. What happened yesterday? We'll talk about that. Kind of crazy, but you could get this GPU $549. In fact, some of these were even just selling on Newegg's regular website without a combo whatsoever, and you could get it for $549. I picked up the MSI Shadow $549 for the RTX 5070 because we need one for the channel, not because I think it's a great GPU. And And yes, I know people will say, oh, nobody wants those GPUs. Yes, but they were sold out before. If even the GPUs were sold out that nobody wanted, then that means really bad things. So when these are the ones first come into stock, that means the GPU market is beginning to heal. Now let's get to the bad news. Okay, so what happened? Yeah, you guessed it. The Trump administration slapped massive tariffs, sparking a trade war basically. China today, just a day or two later, has reciprocated with those tariffs. It looks like the European Union and others are also going to start slapping tariffs on the US. It looks like we are essentially in a full-blown trade war. And I'm not here politically to judge. It's not a politics channel. I'm here to give you the information, what's going to happen to the prices of the cool technology stuff that you want to buy. So we'll stick to that. And the politics stuff, there's plenty of other channels on YouTube. Check them out. So let's talk about what these tariffs actually mean, because there's just a big spreadsheet or big chart that they showed. A lot of those numbers have eventually been, discovered to basically be kind of made up, including that we're tariffing now an island of penguins. No human beings live on this island. It's just penguins. And apparently they are, really taking advantage of the United States and tariffing us. So we're tariffing them back. I didn't know that we traded with penguins. But anyway, in all seriousness, if we take a look at what's going on so far, the fallout was pretty quick. So Nintendo immediately said, hey, time out on the field. Not only is the Switch 2 going to be more expensive, we are also, because they did impose big tariffs on Vietnam, which was a surprise because Vietnam had said, we're going to get rid of all tariffs on US stuff. But the US went ahead and slapped tariffs on them nonetheless. Pretty steep ones too, which is where a lot of the tech firms, this is why this is important, a lot of the tech firms had moved from China or Taiwan to Vietnam because they thought that would be a safe haven against this kind of thing, but obviously not so much, at least not right now. And as Tom's Hardware is already reporting 2 hours ago, Nintendo Switch 2 pre-orders have been delayed. They're time out on the field. They want to see what's going on with tariffs. Nobody really knows what's going on with tariffs right now. Not even the administration really knows, because we're getting conflicting, depends on who in the administration you ask. You get a totally different answer. Let's talk about PC parts pricing, because we do expect a tariff on silicon, on semiconductor manufacturing. Now, it's supposed to be exempt under the current tariff regime. However, there will be one coming very, very soon. In fact, the president briefed folks on Air Force One today and said it is coming very, very soon. They don't know how much it's going to be just yet. Why can't they figure that out? I don't know. But there's definitely going to be something on GPUs, on CPUs, on everything. And right now, there is a crazy tariff on aluminum. Typically, tariffs on raw steel or aluminum are just on the raw material, not on the finished product. But apparently they are now going to, and I don't know if this is a first, they're going to apply this tariff kind of retroactively to parts that have been manufactured already. So not just on the raw material itself, but on the amount of aluminum in a PC case. Get this. And how much aluminum is in a GPU. And apparently, as they're reporting here by PC Magazine, if they don't know, if the manufacturer has not specified the aluminum content or the aluminum value in the part itself or in the manufactured item, they're slapping an additional 25% on the cost of the item, the total cost. They're just assuming it's all aluminum then, which is crazy, totally crazy. I think at a minimum, if we're looking ahead, manufacturers will start specifying how much of aluminum and what the cost of the aluminum is going forward on parts in order to avoid that. In the meantime, I think some of these parts are going to get kind of crazy. Falcon Northwest was already pretty shocked at this. There's also some folks who were ordering AI GPUs, and they got slapped a 25% aluminum tariff on all their AI GPUs, all the servers, all the server racks, stuff like that. So people are freaking out about that right now. Of course, we're already getting news that despite the administration, US administration saying that there were no negotiations possible, multiple administration officials had said that on Wednesday when they announced the tariffs, even on Thursday. Oh, look at this. Today, on Friday, they're announcing that maybe there will be no negotiations. Listen, folks, this is exactly the way it was resolved. And we all just forgot. When 2017, this is exactly the playbook that we saw last time. And then the deals that got cut, none of the deals that got cut ever got fulfilled. So it was kind of all for nothing. Maybe it'll be different this time. I'm always highly skeptical of politicians, any politician whatsoever. So I'm just going to say I'm probably going to be the same as it was before. It's a lot of chest beating, a lot of announcing. I could, of course, be wrong. I know people are really panicking right now. So let's talk about what the potential impact is, regardless of whether or not they cut a deal. So what does this mean for GPU availability? Let's start there. I'm just talking about availability of the product. I was prepared to tell you earlier this week that I thought we were a month, maybe a month and a half out from having a regular retail market for pretty much anything except really the RTX 5090, right? And the prices were not going to be fantastic, but the products were going to be available. They were going to be on store shelves. You were going to be able to buy them when you wanted, and you were not going to have to buy combo deals with them or go through Newegg Shuffle or something like that. I think the tariffs right now will probably delay that a month, 2 months. And that's just because they're not going to want to ship stuff into the United States until they have some kind of clarity on any kind of negotiations that are going to happen around the tariffs, right? If you have this stuff and you send this to the US and you pay a tariff now, and then they negotiate something a day later, and you're like, oh crap, we just paid money on stuff we didn't have to pay money on. So I think that might hold things up. We're certainly seeing that with the Nintendo Switch 2. You're certainly pushing the timeout button on that until there's more clarity. So given the lack of clarity right now, that's going to be delayed a little bit. Now, there are some shipments of GPUs still coming into the US that essentially can't be stopped. They're on ships. Those ships have to dock somewhere, etc. I'm just talking about the stuff that they're getting ready to ship right now. Now let's talk about pricing. And let's actually jump into some CPUs really quick. These are the best-selling CPUs right now on Newegg. So we got the 9800X 3D, the Ryzen 7600X, and then the 7800X 3D, right? Because it's down to $408, 9700X. So these are the ones that I would expect top-selling CPUs right now. Obviously, Intel, you need to make a better product, and hopefully that will come very, very soon. These CPUs, for instance, I expect to get up to possibly 25% more expensive. Same with GPUs, up to 25% more expensive. Now, I know some of the tariffs are up to 50%, but remember, the tariff itself is on the good when it comes into the United States. So the shipper, whoever's shipping it in, is the one that pays the tax. I know some people get confused. They think, oh, China's going to pay the tax or Vietnam is going to. No, countries don't pay the tax. The physical entity that has the product bringing it in, they're the ones that pay the tax. They pass on that to the wholesaler, who then passes on to the retailer, who, guess what, passes it on to you. So ultimately, this is kind of like a sales tax. It's kind of like a shadow sales tax right now. If you're in Europe, this is a value-added tax, a VAT tax, right? So that's what you're essentially going to be paying right now, is an additional 20 to 25%. And again, it's not on the retail value of the product, it's on whatever the wholesale value is, typically, whatever the value is declared when it comes to the United States. And of course, they can probably fudge that. They probably will start fudging that in order to get that tax down as low as they can. But I would expect you to see about 20, 25% higher prices really across the board too. So something like a 9800X 3D that's $479, obviously, the increase on that in terms of total dollars is going to be more than if you're buying a Ryzen 5600 for $100, right? You're going to spend a couple of dollars more on that Ryzen 5600, maybe like 20 bucks more on that Ryzen 5600. That's probably a little bit too much. Instead of something like the 9800X 3D, where that could be a pretty substantial kind of fee that gets added to that in terms of raw dollars. Of course, everything I just said is for the United States. For the rest of the world, I actually think this might be good for you, because oftentimes US market is prioritized when it comes to especially PC parts, especially by NVIDIA, by AMD and others. And I know a lot of you complain about this all the time because I see your comments and I get it. Guess what? If they're going to hold up shipments to the US, they are not just going to let those stack up anywhere, because we have just-in-time manufacturing these days. There aren't giant warehouses available to just start sticking these things. They're going to start shipping them somewhere else. And I believe they'll probably end up going to other countries like Europe, like other markets that traditionally have been a little bit more challenged on the availability. So it's entirely possible that availability in other areas outside the US actually improves, and that pricing actually improves as well, because you're going to get more product out there to meet the amount of demand out there. When supply finally meets demand, price should start coming down. So let's play everyone's favorite game. Should you buy now or should you wait? Well, honestly, if you want it, I'd go ahead and buy it. Those combo deals aren't terrible. I'll leave a link down in the video description. I'll link as many good ones that I think I can find out there, because they do change from time to time. I'll also put the Best Buy links and all that kind of stuff for some of those GPUs out there. Listen, it might be that spending $100 more and having it now may not be the worst thing, because there were no tariffs charged on those, so they don't have to recoup that investment, although they are overcharging you, so maybe the new ones will come at the same price. I do know these retailers are not going to eat the cost. The manufacturers are not going to eat the cost. The wholesalers are not going to eat the cost. Nobody's going to eat the cost except you, the consumer. Just get that through your head. I want everybody to understand that. you will be paying for these. Do I think they're going to last that long? I really hope that they do not, but my crystal ball is as broken as everybody else's out there. I just know that in the first Trump administration, we saw what we saw. It did get resolved eventually into a big grand bargain, and then nobody ever made good on their grand bargain, but all the politicians got to walk away and say that they were winners, which is, I guess, what people care about these days instead of what actually happens to human beings. But in the meantime, what does it mean for you and me in terms of the pricing impact? I think we're rough waters ahead. If you want to buy something now with the stuff that's on the shelves, I just go for it. And the good news is there are still pretty cheap other components out there that will offset the higher GPU costs, even though I have seen the CPU prices tick up 10 or 20 bucks just overnight. Same with like some cases, some SSDs. Prices are ticking up right now. And I think the retailers and others are just kind of hedging their bets on what's going to happen in terms of whether a deal will be cut or not. So I would probably pick up something right now if you want it. If you got value out of this video, please give it a like. It makes a huge difference to the channel. And of course, subscribe for more cool PC content. We will catch you on the next one.